You've cried alone when no one was watching. You've walked through fire with a smile on your face, so the world wouldn't see you break. You've whispered prayers in silence, hoping someone, anyone, was listening. I know what that feels like. I've seen what life can do to the spirit when hope is slipping through your fingers like sand. But I'm here to tell you something that you need to hear before you take another step. You are not forgotten. You are not invisible. And you are not alone. There is a power in this universe that sees what no man sees, hears what no one else hears, and responds when you think it's too late. That power is the intelligence behind all creation, the same intelligence that breathes life into trees, that spins the planets on their orbits, that paints the sky without ever lifting a brush. And that same intelligence is watching over you, not as a distant force, but as a father, a guide, a friend who is closer than your skin and more committed than your fear. But you have to leave it in his hands. You have to let go of trying to control what was never yours to manage, because faith does not begin when you understand. Faith begins when you release, when you take your pain, your confusion, your anger, your loneliness, and you stop trying to make sense of it all, and instead, you say, I don't know how, but I know who. That, my friend, is the beginning of true freedom. People walk around every day carrying burdens that were never meant to be carried alone. You were not created to bear the weight of the world on your shoulders. You were created to align your spirit with a force greater than yourself. And when you do, miracles begin to move on your behalf. But most people never reach that point because they're too busy trying to figure it out on their own. They try to fix what's broken with their own hands. They try to heal what's bleeding with their own logic. They try to silence the chaos with their own distractions. But nothing works, because healing doesn't come from the outside in. It comes from the inside out. And until you surrender, until you say, God, this is too heavy for me, I give it to you, you will stay stuck in cycles that never end. I've spent years studying the minds of the successful, the fearless, the accomplished, and do you know what I found? The ones who rise above the storm are not the ones who never fall. They are the ones who fall and say, even this, I will leave in God's hands. Because they understand that pain is not permanent, delay is not denial, and silence is not absence. You cried last night and thought no one noticed, but heaven noticed. You whispered words you've never said aloud before, and they were heard not by the wind, but by the one who commands the wind. There is something sacred in surrender, something powerful in laying it all down. It is not weakness to let go. It is the ultimate strength. To release is to rise, to trust is to triumph, to say, God, I don't know why, but I know you see me. It is to choose alignment over anxiety, and once you choose that, you've already begun to win. Now, I want you to look at everything in your life that's weighing on you, that situation that feels hopeless, that relationship that seems broken beyond repair, that financial pressure that's eating at your sleep, that dream that feels like it's drifting further away. I want you to gather it all in your heart right now and mentally lay it down, put it in his hands, because those hands are strong, those hands are sure, those hands are safe, and most importantly, those hands are not empty. They are full of power, full of wisdom, full of answers you could never see on your own. But that power is only activated by trust. There is a spiritual law just as real as gravity, and that law is, whatever you release to God, he multiplies. Whatever you surrender, he restores. Whatever you trust him with, he transforms. But nothing happens until you let go. Your worry is not serving you. Your fear is not helping you. Your sleepless nights are not fixing anything. They are distractions, and distractions are the enemy of direction. You need to know that right now, even in this very moment, God is closer than your next breath, and he is listening. You may not hear him speaking, but that doesn't mean he is silent. The teacher is always quiet during the test, and what you're going through right now may feel like a test. That's because it is not to destroy you, but to develop you, to strengthen what has grown weak, to deepen what has remained shallow, to clarify what has been confused, and to prepare you for what you can't yet imagine, but to receive it. You must stop carrying what was never yours. You've been carrying guilt. Drop it. You've been carrying shame, release it. You've been carrying fear, let it go. You've been carrying rejection, disappointment, heartbreak, bitterness, and none of it belongs to you anymore. Give it back to the source of your strength, the source of your peace, the source of your identity, because you are not defined by your past. You are not shaped by your failure. You are not chained to your trauma. You are shaped by the vision of the one who created you. And that vision is still active, still alive, still moving on your behalf, even now, even here, even when it doesn't feel like it. That's why you have to leave it in his hands, because your hands are tired, but his are not. Your strength may be failing, but his is eternal. You're reaching your end, but he is just getting started. And when you trust him, when you give it all to him, when you finally say, I can't carry this anymore, I'm done doing this my way, everything begins to shift. Opportunities you never imagined begin to appear. Healing begins to manifest in the places that were hardest to touch. The peace that passes all understanding begins to flood your mind, and suddenly you're no longer surviving. You're rising, you're becoming, you're remembering who you are, because you are more than your struggle. You are more than your fear. You are more than the words they spoke over you. You are a creation of the infinite, breathed into existence with purpose, anointed for the storm you're facing, and destined to come through it with power, but not by force, not by control, not by striving, by surrender, by letting go, by placing it all in the hands of the one who made you. That is where the breakthrough lives. That is where peace begins. That is where strength is found. Leave it in God's hands. He's been waiting, and he hears your cry even now, even here, even in the silence. He sees it all, and he will not fail you when the world tells you to keep going, and you feel like you have nothing left, when every effort seems wasted, and every door seems closed, when the weight becomes unbearable, and the silence becomes deafening. That is not the time to give up. That is the time to give it up. Give it to the one who never sleeps. Give it to the one whose strength never runs dry. You see, the mistake most people make is believing they must endure everything alone. They believe asking for help is weakness. They believe surrender is failure. But let me tell you something you may not hear often enough. Surrender is not giving up. Surrender is handing it over to the highest intelligence in the universe, to the source of all life, to the mind that knows your end from your beginning. And when you release control to that power, you align yourself with a force that can move mountains, heal wounds, and open doors. No man can shut you. Were never designed to carry the full weight of life alone. You were created to partner with divine power. But divine power cannot operate where human pride resists. It flows through humility, through trust, through quiet confidence in something beyond what you can see. When you say, I don't know how I'll make it, but I know I will, you've stepped into faith, and faith is the currency of miracles. Let me remind you of a simple truth that changes everything. What's over your head is still under God's feet. He's not worried about what's worrying you. He's not confused by what confuses you. He's not panicked by what paralyzes you. He is calm, still, wise, unshaken, and fully able. But you must let go of your need to fix everything yourself. You must stop rehearsing the pain, stop reliving the disappointment, stop replaying the betrayal, because every time you replay it, you relive it. And you were not created to suffer in cycles. You were created to break them. And how do you break them? By putting the pain in his hands. You can't think your way out of some things. You can't plan your way around some problems. Some storms only end when you stop fighting the rain and let God take the wheel, because sometimes the storm isn't sent to destroy you. Sometimes the storm is sent to wash away what no longer serves you. Sometimes what you're trying to hold together is the very thing God is trying to dismantle for your growth. And here's a hard truth. Some endings are actually answers. Some doors close not because you're unworthy, but because you're protected. And some delays are not rejections. They are redirections. But you'll never see that if you keep insisting on your way, your timing, your understanding. The secret of peace is found in surrender. Not passive surrender, but active, intentional surrender, where you take everything that is breaking you and place it in hands that cannot break. Those hands that shaped the stars, those hands that carved the oceans, those hands that stretched wide on the cross. and held all the weight of the world, those hands now wait for you to let go, not because they need your permission, but because love never forces, it only waits patiently. Silently, lovingly, God is not pacing heaven wondering. If he can fix your situation, he is waiting for you to place it in his care. He is waiting for your release. And the moment you do, the moment you say, God, I'm tired, I trust you, heaven begins to respond, not always with immediate answers, but always with immediate peace, because peace isn't the absence of problems. Peace is the presence of God, and you will never find that peace until you trust him with the pieces, the shattered pieces of your heart, the broken pieces of your dream, the painful pieces of your past, the missing pieces of your future. Give it all to him. Let me be even clearer. You cannot move forward if you're still dragging the weight of yesterday. You cannot build a new future while clinging to the ruins of the old one. You cannot experience God's best while trying to manipulate outcomes in your own strength. You were never meant to be your own savior. You were meant to trust the one who already won the battle. And I know you've been through more than people realize. I know you've had to wipe your own tears and silence your own fears. I know you've stood in rooms full of people and still felt unseen. But let me tell you something with certainty. God has never missed a moment of your pain. He has seen every tear. He has heard every silent prayer. And he has not forgotten you. You are not invisible to him. You are engraved on his hands. That's not poetic. It's spiritual reality. You are carried, held, remembered, loved, but you must leave it in his hands and trust that even in your darkest moment, God is still working. In the light, he is rearranging. What you can't see, he is softening hearts. You can't reach, he is opening doors. You don't know exist, but he does it in his time, in his way, and for your good, because when God does it, it lasts. When God heals it, it's whole. When God blesses, it overflows. When God speaks, the storm calms. So stop doubting just because you don't see it yet. Stop panicking just because the answer hasn't come. Stop assuming silence means absence. Sometimes the greatest work is done in the silence. The seed grows in the dark. The diamond is formed under pressure. The oak tree begins as a buried acorn, and your future is growing even if you can't see it yet. But you must trust the process. You must trust the potter. Even when you're the clay, and sometimes being molded hurts. Sometimes it means losing people you thought were forever. Sometimes it means walking through fire that burns away what's not meant to follow you. Sometimes it means standing still when you want to run, but the hands that are molding you, also the hands that are protecting you, shaping you, empowering you, and preparing you for something far beyond your imagination. And that's why you cannot give up now. That's why you cannot quit, because breakthrough is always preceded by resistance, and the enemy always attacks the hardest right before the blessing. So, if you're in a season of pressure, if you're in a moment of breaking, if everything feels like it's falling apart, look again. It's not falling apart, it's falling into place, but not your place. God's place, and his placement is perfect. It may not be easy, it may not be fast, but it is perfect. So take your hands off the outcome, take your heart off the anxiety, take your mind off the what-ifs, and say these words from your soul. God, I leave it in your hands. And mean it. Say it. When you're tired, say it. When you're scared, say it. When you don't have the answers, say it. When you're waiting, say it. When you're celebrating, say it. When you're breaking, and when you say it, believe it, because when you leave it in his hands, you don't lose control. You gain peace. You gain strength, you gain purpose, you gain power that is not your own, and that power is what carries you through what you thought you couldn't survive. It is the power that raised the dead, that calmed the sea, that shut the mouth of lions, and that same power is now available to you, but only if you surrender. So stop carrying what you were never meant to carry and place it where it belongs. Leave it in God's hands, because he sees your pain, he hears your cry, and he will not let you fall. Not now, not ever. You've spent enough nights wondering if you were going to make it. You've cried enough tears in silence while pretending to be strong for everyone else. You've carried burdens that were never yours to carry. You've tried to be the hero when all you really needed was healing, and you've worn masks that hid your exhaustion. You've smiled when your soul was breaking. You've said, I'm fine, when you were anything but let me speak something into your life that you may have forgotten. You don't have to be everything for everyone. You don't have to pretend anymore. You don't have to fix what only God can heal. You don't have to keep holding what God has asked you to release. You don't have to fear what the future holds when you trust the one who holds it, because when you live like everything depends on you, you rob yourself of the supernatural help that was always available. You block the very power that could change everything, and the reason you're exhausted isn't just because life is hard, it's because you're trying to control what isn't your responsibility. You've confused effort with control, responsibility with anxiety, discipline with fear, and faith with logic. But the truth is, faith begins where logic ends. Faith is not about understanding everything, it's about trusting God even when nothing makes sense, even when everything you see contradicts what you believe, even when the timing feels wrong and the silence feels cruel, even when you have no proof, but still choose to praise. That's real faith, that's real surrender, that's when heaven starts to move on your behalf. But you must get out of your own way. You must stop telling God how to do his job. You must stop limiting him to your expectations, because sometimes the blessing you asked for doesn't look like what you imagined. Sometimes the open door comes wrapped in pain. Sometimes the breakthrough arrives in form of a breakdown. But when you trust the process, when you say, God, even this I place in your hands, you invite the miraculous. You activate a force greater than any enemy you've ever faced, because the real battle is not outside you, it's within you. It's between your fear and your faith, between your control and your surrender, between your timeline and God's timing, between your need to figure it out and your decision to let it go. And let me tell you something very few will tell you. You're allowed to rest. You're allowed to say, God, I can't carry this anymore. You're allowed to let the tears fall. You're allowed to collapse into his arms, because strength is not pretending. Your unbreakable strength is trusting God enough to break down and let him rebuild you. He doesn't despise your weakness. He draws near to it. He doesn't condemn your doubt. He speaks through it. He doesn't walk away when you're hurting. He walks into the fire with you, because that's who he is. A father, not a boss, not a critic, not a distant cosmic force, but a present, powerful, loving father, one who knows what you need before you ask, one who loves you not because you're perfect, but because you're his, one who sees the tears you hide from everyone else and hears the cries you whisper when no one is around. He sees you, he knows you, he is for you. And if God is for you, who can be against you? But you must believe that you must live like you believe it, because belief is not a thought. It's a decision to keep walking when you want to stop, a decision to keep praying when nothing is changing, a decision to keep praising when the pain is loud, a decision to say, God, I still trust you when your heart is breaking. And that decision, that one act of surrender, changes everything. It doesn't always change the situation immediately, but it always changes you. And when you change, the world around you begins to shift, because nothing is more powerful than a soul fully surrendered. Nothing is more dangerous to darkness than a believer who says, even if it doesn't happen my way, I still choose faith. That's the kind of faith that moves mountains, that raises the dead things in your life, that unlocks doors no man can shut, that invites God to do what only he can do. But it starts with you letting go, not halfway, not partially, completely. It's not God. Take this, but let me still control the timing. It's not God. I trust you, but I'll fix it if you don't move fast enough. It's God. I trust you, period. No conditions, no negotiations, just complete trust, because only complete trust brings complete peace, and peace is your inheritance, not anxiety, not fear, not confusion. Peace, peace that passes understanding, peace that anchors you when everything is shaking, peace that keeps your mind still while the world is spinning, peace that whispers you're safe, even when you feel alone. And you find that peace when you rest in his hands, when you say, God, I don't get it, but I give it to you anyway. That's the moment heaven leans in. That's the moment angels are dispatched on your behalf. That's the moment chains begin to break and fear begins to flee, because faith doesn't need sight. Faith just needs surrender. And when you surrender, really surrender, you finally become free from the need Be perfect, free from the weight of everyone's expectations, free from the lie that your worth is based on your performance, free from the prison of your own overthinking, free to trust, free to rest, free to receive. But you cannot receive with clenched fists. You must open your hands and say, God, I give this to you. And when you do, he will take what you cannot carry, he will hold what you cannot fix, he will protect what you cannot reach, he will bless what you thought was broken beyond repair, he will redeem what was lost, he will restore what was stolen, he will rebuild what life tried to tear down, but he will not force his way in. He waits for your invitation, he waits for your surrender, he waits for your trust, because love never forces, it only invites. And right now, you are being invited to stop striving and start trusting, invited to stop performing and start receiving, invited to stop holding on and start letting go, invited to stop surviving and start living. But the choice is yours. You can keep trying to do it all alone, or you can fall into the arms of the one who already won the war. You can keep faking strength, or you can find real strength in your surrender. You can keep carrying what crushing you, or you can place it in the hands that were pierced to carry your pain, because those hands are waiting, and they've never failed, not once, not ever, and they will not fail you now. So say it again, say it with every ounce of faith left in you, say it until peace returns, say it until the fear breaks, say it until the tears fall freely, say it until heaven responds. Father, into your hands I place this pain, into your hands I place this burden, into your hands I place this fear, into your hands I place this future, into your hands I place all of me. That is the beginning of your break. Through that is the moment everything begins to shift. That is where miracles begin. That is where healing begins. That is where peace begins. When you finally leave it in God's hands, somewhere deep inside of you is a version of yourself that has not yet come alive, a version that is free from fear, a version that is grounded in peace, a version that trusts God so fully that nothing the world throws at you can shake you. And you've caught glimpses of this version in your strongest moments, in the quiet times, when you remembered who you really are, in the tears that led to wisdom, in the silence where God whispered clarity into your soul. But life has a way of burying that version of you, burying it under pressure, performance, pain, and pretending. And most people never resurrect that self. They live small because they trust small. They live anxious because they control everything. They live stuck because they never let go. But if you truly want to experience the life God intended for you, you must learn the art of full surrender. You must learn the power of radical trust, because the greatest enemy of your breakthrough is not your circumstances, it's your resistance. You can't hold God's promise and your own plans at the same time. You can't receive new life while still clinging to what's dying. You can't walk in freedom while dragging chains of fear. You can't move forward while obsessing over what's behind you. So today is a line in the sand. This is the moment you stop fighting battles that aren't yours. This is the moment you stop letting the opinions of people rob you of the voice of God. This is the moment you stop trying to control what only heaven can command, because surrender is not weakness, it is wisdom. It is power disguised in humility. It is the place where heaven invades earth. It is the bridge between who you are and who you were born to become. And the reason most never cross that bridge is simple. They don't trust the one who built it. But if you knew how capable God is, if you knew how deeply he loved you, if you knew what he's preparing behind the scenes, you wouldn't hesitate for a moment. You'd run into his arms. You'd hand him the keys. You'd surrender the story. You'd give him the pen and stop rewriting the chapters you didn't like. Because what he's writing is better. What he's building is stronger. What he's creating is eternal. And one day, when you look back, you'll thank him for the delays. You'll praise him for the closed doors. You'll be grateful for the unanswered prayers, because you'll see clearly what you couldn't see. Then you'll understand that what felt like silence was actually strategy, that what felt like abandonment was preparation, that what felt like the end was actually the beginning. But you don't have to wait for hindsight to have peace. You can have peace now. You can have it. Before the answer comes, you can have it. Before the healing arrives, you can have it. Before the breakthrough manifests, Because peace is not the absence of problems, peace is the presence of God, and God is with you now, not just in theory, not just on Sundays, not just when you're doing everything right. He's with you in your questions, with you in your weakness, with you in the very places you thought were too broken. Him to enter, because his presence is not earned, it is promised, it is guaranteed to those who call on him. So call on him, call on him. When your heart feels numb, call on him. When the weight is too much, call on him. When your strength is gone, call on him. When you feel unworthy, because your worth has never depended on your perfection, it depends on his love, and his love doesn't fluctuate with your feelings. It doesn't vanish when you fail. It doesn't decrease when you doubt. It stays. It remains. It holds you together when everything is falling apart. And maybe that's all you need right now to know. That you're held, to know that you're seen, to know that your cries haven't gone unheard, because they haven't. Not a single tear has been wasted, not a single sigh has been missed, not a single fear has been ignored. He's been collecting them, redeeming them, transforming them into something beautiful, even if you can't see it yet, even if it doesn't feel like it, even if your faith is hanging by a thread still. He's faithful still. He's working still. He's present, and that is enough. You don't need a perfect plan. You don't need all the answers. You don't need the applause of people. You just need to place your life in his hands, because his hands are steady. His hands are sure. His hands are gentle and strong. His hands heal. His hands carry. His hands protect. And his hands will never let you go. So whatever it is that's keeping you up at night, give it to him. Whatever it is that's crushing your chest, worry, hand it over. Whatever it is that feels too big, too broken, too far gone, place it in his care. Say it with me now: God, I leave it in your hands. Say it again: I leave it in your hands, not in my fear, not in my doubt, not in my timelines or my strategies, but in your hands, because you see what I do. Don't you know what I can't, and you love me more than I love myself? You are the author of time, the healer of wounds, the breaker of chains, the redeemer of stories, and you, Father, are worthy of my trust. So I release it. I release the pain. I release the past. I release the pressure. I release the weight of trying to be in control, and I give it to you, not temporarily, not halfway, fully, because I know that nothing surrendered to you is ever lost. It is always transformed, multiplied, refined, and returned better than before. So even now, while nothing looks different, I declare that something has shifted. Because I have shifted, my posture has changed, my focus has changed, my faith has deepened. And I will never be the same. I will walk forward lighter, not because life got easier, but because I finally handed over what was never mine to carry. I will rest tonight, not because the battle is over, but because I know who fights for me. I will rise tomorrow, not in fear, but in faith, because I know who holds my future, and his hands are enough. So I speak this over you now: peace, be still. Let the storm quiet down inside your soul. Let the fear dissolve in the face of his presence. Let the anxiety melt in warmth of his love. You are not alone. You never have been. You never will be. God sees your pain. He hears your cry. And his answer is this: leave it in my hands.